Sleep. Imagine waking up one morning to a knock on your door, and standing there are two uniformed officers with a warrant bearing your name. You are shocked because you know you haven't done anything wrong, yet someone in authority claims you have. This nightmare, where a police officer files a false report or false fur against an innocent person, is rare but not impossible in the United States, and it raises serious questions about justice, accountability, and power. In the American legal system, law enforcement officers hold tremendous authority. They can investigate, detain, arrest, and file reports that may decide a person's freedom or reputation. However, that authority comes with strict legal and ethical responsibilities. When an officer intentionally fabricates evidence, writes a false police report, or files charges without probable cause, it is not only a betrayal of public trust, but also a criminal offense. Under U.S. federal and state law, filing a false report is punishable by fines, imprisonment, and dismissal from service. The law draws a clear line between honest mistakes and deliberate deception. When a report is knowingly false, it becomes a crime. To understand the depth of this issue, let's imagine a real-world scenario. A small-town man named David, a mechanic with no criminal record, is suddenly accused of assaulting an officer during a traffic stop. The police report says David became violent and attacked the officer, but video footage later reveals that he never even left his car. The entire charge was fabricated to justify the officer's unnecessary use of force. Once this evidence surfaced, the tables turned, and the false report itself became evidence of misconduct. According to U.S. law, particularly under Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 1001, anyone including police officers who knowingly and willfully makes materially false statements in any matter within the jurisdiction of the U.S. government can face up to 5 years in federal prison, and more if the lie obstructs justice or involves terrorism or civil rights violations. States have similar statutes. For instance, California Penal Code Section 118.1 makes it a felony for a police officer to knowingly include false information in an official report. Penalties may include imprisonment for up to 3 years, heavy fines, loss of badge, and permanent ineligibility for law enforcement work. When a false report is filed, the immediate victim is the accused, but the larger victim is public trust in the justice system. People rely on officers to tell the truth. When they lie, every legitimate case they handle becomes questionable. Prosecutors, judges, and juries depend on accurate police reports to make decisions. A single false report can send an innocent person to jail, ruin careers, and destroy families. Fortunately, the legal system provides ways to fight back. A victim of a false report can file a civil rights lawsuit under 42 U.S. Code, Section 1983. Which allows individuals to sue government officials who violate constitutional rights under color of law. In David's case, he could claim malicious prosecution, false arrest, defamation, and deprivation of liberty without due process. If proven, the officer and possibly the department can be ordered to pay compensatory and punitive damages. Courts take these cases seriously because they threaten the very foundation of fair law enforcement. The FBI's Civil Rights Division and the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General often investigate such misconduct when it involves willful civil rights violations or corruption. Officers found guilty can face both criminal charges and administrative action, including termination and decertification from law enforcement. Beyond legal penalties, the emotional and social impact on victims is enormous. Imagine being arrested, handcuffed, and displayed publicly as a criminal because someone with authority lied about you. Even if you later prove your innocence, the psychological damage, financial loss, and social stigma can last for years. False reports also waste taxpayer money, divert police resources, and clog the court system with unnecessary cases. They damage the credibility of honest officers who dedicate their lives to real justice. That's why law enforcement agencies have internal affairs divisions whose job is to investigate misconduct within the force. When an officer is suspected of lying, internal affairs may review body cam footage, witness statements, and evidence logs. If they confirm intentional falsification, disciplinary action can include suspension, demotion, or firing, and criminal prosecution may follow. The courts distinguish between a false report and an error made in good faith. For example, if an officer genuinely misinterprets a situation but corrects it once evidence emerges, it may not be criminal. However, fabricating facts, planting evidence, or inventing witnesses crosses a line into corruption. Judges can dismiss cases built on false reports and may refer the officer for prosecution. A famous example occurred in Chicago, where several officers were convicted for filing false reports after a shooting incident. Their lies were exposed by dashcam footage, leading to prison sentences and the overhaul of departmental policies. Similar incidents in New York, Los Angeles, and Baltimore have prompted reforms such as mandatory body cameras, digital reporting systems, and community oversight boards. Citizens also have rights when facing false accusations. The Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination, and the Sixth Amendment guarantees a fair trial and legal counsel. If you believe a false report has been filed against you, the first step is to remain calm and contact a criminal defense attorney. Your lawyer can obtain copies of the police report, gather evidence, and file motions to dismiss or suppress false statements. You can also file a complaint with the police department's Internal Affairs Unit, the state police, or even the U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division. Document every interaction, keep copies of communications, and avoid direct confrontation with the officer involved. In some cases, it's possible to sue not only the officer but also the city or county for negligence in supervision or training. When a false report escalates into a criminal prosecution, prosecutors are ethically bound to drop charges once they learn the truth. However, if they knowingly continue to pursue a case based on false evidence, they too can face disciplinary action. Defense attorneys often rely on body cam footage, call records, GPS data, and witness statements to prove inconsistencies in police accounts. Modern technology has become a powerful equalizer. Smartphones, surveillance cameras, and dashcams have exposed countless false reports that would have otherwise gone unchallenged. Social media has also amplified public scrutiny, pressuring departments to act swiftly against dishonest officers. Still, not every case ends in justice. Some victims spend months or even years clearing their names. That's why advocacy groups such as the Innocence Project and Civil Rights Cause continue to fight for transparency and accountability in law enforcement. They push for legislation that imposes harsher penalties on officers who file false reports. In some states, lawmakers have proposed making such conduct a Class D felony, carrying sentences of up to 10 years. The message is clear. With great power comes great responsibility. Officers who misuse that power to lie or frame innocent people betray not only their oath but also the Constitution itself. The psychological motive behind false reporting can vary. Sometimes it's to cover up misconduct, sometimes to retaliate against criticism, and sometimes out of prejudice. Training programs now emphasize ethics, de-escalation, and accountability, reminding officers that honesty is the backbone of justice. The majority of American police officers perform their duties with integrity, and they too suffer when a few bad actors tarnish the uniform's reputation. Building public trust requires transparency, consistent discipline, and open communication between departments and communities. In the end, the case of someone falsely accused because of a dishonest report reminds us that justice is not automatic, it must be defended. Through us, legal system allows the truth to come to light through evidence, advocacy, and accountability, but it depends on citizens knowing their rights. If a police officer ever files a false fur or report against you, remember that the law protects you too. The same system that gives officers authority also binds them to honesty. You have the right to legal representation, the right to challenge evidence, and the right to seek justice for misconduct. Lying under oath or in official paperwork is perjury, and no badge or title can shield anyone from that crime. So, the next time you see a viral story about a false police report, remember that it's not just about one officer and one victim, it's about the integrity of the entire justice system. Accountability keeps power in check, and truth is the only foundation on which real justice stands. In America, the law is designed not just to punish crime, but to prevent abuse of power. Filing a false report is not a small mistake. It's a direct attack on the principle that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And that's why the punishment is severe, suspension, termination, prison, and a lifetime stain on one's record. Justice may sometimes be slow, but in the end, the truth has its way of surfacing. And those who misuse authority to harm the innocent eventually face the very system they once manipulated.